Hi, in this video I will share with you an introduction to system dynamics or also business dynamics. So starting off with what is a system? We'll take a concrete example in this video of a company or a business as a system. So we can also call a business unit or a company as a system, and we can call that business as a dynamic unit because there are people involved, there are work that is getting done, there are dependencies on teams, there's inventory of goods that are produced, etc. So let's get into it. So why study system dynamics? The number one big reason is if we understand how the system works in our mind better, then we can make better decisions as to why the system is not working. And we can also make better decisions to make the system work even better. So the core reason I think we need to learn how to interpret a system and understand all the dynamic parts of a system is to make better decisions. So typically, many times we think of everything as linear cause and effect, that if I do something, I get something. But there are many things that are in between doing something and getting something. For example, if you go and take a hot water shower, you turn on the hot water tap and you expect that you will get hot water. So that is linear cause and effect. You turn on the tap on the hot side, and so you expect hot water. But as you can imagine, even this simple thing is not linear cause and effect. There are so many reasons why you will not get a hot water in your shower or as hot as you want. There could be that the hot water is now used in the kitchen. There could be that the other shower is using hot water. There could be that the burner is not working below. So there are many reasons why hot water will not show up. So just expecting that when you turn on the knob to show to pour hot water, that it will not always happen. So similarly, in the world or in a company or in the business or in any project, we cannot simplify everything to linear cause and effect, that if I do good work, that I'll get promoted. Typically, that's not always true. Similarly, if you do work, that you will get results is not always true. There are so many dependencies, and it's never linear cause and effect. And that's what we will learn in system dynamics. In this slide that I captured from John Sturman's video on YouTube, he's very clearly showing that in a larger system, so for example, a company, you could see that people have goals. There are many people and everyone has goals. The company has a goal, and there are many individuals, they have their own personal goals, and so they make decisions. When they make decisions, that has side effects because those decisions could be personal decisions that optimize for their own personal benefit, or they could be company-wide decisions that may sub-optimize personal benefit for the team. And so those side effects change the system. So the system, the company itself no longer remains the same. For example, if the company has a goal to drastically reduce finances and finance bills, they could make a decision. One of the decision could be to lay off staff. And when they lay off staff, they're not optimizing for the person who's getting laid off, they're optimizing for the company. So the side effect is that the finance bills start reducing, the liabilities start reducing because you don't have to pay a lot of those people who are laid off. But then the system changes. The company no longer has the same number of employees. So every decision that we make changes the system, and those are the side effects. Similarly, other people, other companies, when you lay off those people, may start hiring those people. And so when they start hiring, their goals or their products become stronger. So as you can imagine, this is just one simple decision that changes the system. And there are other people outside of your system that are partly connected to some parts of your system. And so when they act, taking into account your actions, your dependencies or your competition changes. And so your goals are also impacted because now you are further away from reaching your goal of hiring that many people or getting certain amount of work done. So this is a simple example. A company is a very complex system But there are bigger such systems like the world. We are seeing climate change, a lot of policies being made. If we don't understand the system really well, we'll make wrong decisions. That's another reason why learning system dynamics or learning the how the system works and in turn maybe applying to the business and understanding the business will help us understand how everything is not linear cause and effect. We'll make better decisions. We'll try to understand if there are patterns that we can recognize in this and make systematic changes so that long term the system is stable. So that's the reason why I think we should learn system dynamics is to comprehend the fact that there are many things at play, and that we should understand that it's not simple linear cause and effect. The other concept that I learned recently, part of system dynamics, is there is S-shaped growth in pretty much everything. And it looks like this. This looks like this S shape. So growth takes time and it follows this pattern. And typically the slope of this curve is different based on adoption. But you could imagine that in the beginning, a lot of time goes by, there is lack of growth, but then growth increases and then it stabilizes based on what is available. Similarly, you can see that this is that S-shaped growth. You will have innovators or early adopters who will want to use your product early, and so they'll adopt, and then you'll have traction. You'll see that word of mouth, your product is getting more and more adoption, and so more and more people start using it. It accelerates and accelerates, but then you will find out that it slows down in growth because everyone who could be on using your product or buying your product has already pretty much bought your product. Similarly, so it's very important for you to understand as part of the business, where are you in this growth curve? Are you in the early phase? So then the tactics that you will be doing here, which is word of mouth, more presence, will be very different than the tactic that you will be doing here. Here you will be trying to understand how you can expand your markets, how you would go into newer markets. So understanding that there are S-shaped growth curves in the business is very important, and at the same time it's very even more important to find out where are you in this growth curve. It'll help you make better decisions into investments as to where you should be focusing your efforts, and just a better tactic to use. But we also recognize that as time has gone from 1900 to 2005 and recently 2019, adoption of a lot of these technologies is steadily increasing. So if you can imagine, see the growth here of internet, it is like almost exponential. Similarly, but telephone, as you can see, it's still an S. These are all S-shaped growths, and it's increasing over time. Like the telephone adoption is much less steeper compared to radio, but internet, it's even more steeper compared to radio, right? So we will see that there are S-shaped patterns and the growth typically tapers off. So understanding where you're in the business cycle helps you invest and make the right efforts. The other key concept I learned recently on business and business dynamics was price war. So typically companies do price war to gain larger market share. And so how you react as a company or how you respond to price war situations is very important. If you continuously lower your prices because the competitor is lowering their price, then both of you will have a huge profit issue. So modeling how you will reduce your prices, what will you base your prices on, is very important. For example, let's say you are on a Thanksgiving sale, you see that you're in Best Buy and you see that the pen drive is costing you $10, but typically in Amazon used to cost $20. So now if you're in Best Buy and you're checking out Amazon, would you want to buy it from Best Buy at $10 or would you want to buy it from Amazon at $20? Sure, you'll always go buy it from Best Buy. What if at that same time Amazon gave you a $9.99, which is equal to 1 cent less than what Best Buy is giving? You'll probably not move your loyalty away from Amazon to Best Buy forever. Maybe you will buy that right now from Best Buy, but maybe you will even save 1 cent by saying, hey, I don't need this right now. I'm going to order it still on Amazon. Similarly, it's very important to use right tactics for price wars so that you are competitive. So that was another big concept that I learned recently in system dynamics. So there are four tools that typically are used in system dynamics. The causal loop diagram, which looks something like this. It tells you what causes what is a reinforcing loop that increases certain goal that you have, and what is it that is balancing loop that balances out. And so there are simple causal loop diagrams, and you can also see that there could be many complex related causal loop diagrams that you can build. The second tool that we can use to model a system is to plot behavior over time. So over time, you could have a goal that you'd like to measure. Let's say I want 100,000 in sales. So with the current model in place, you could plot over time how your sales are going to increase and how your profits will increase, and how when you start hiring more people, how your releases will start increasing. So over time, plotting will help you with modeling. The third thing that's needed before you model is to convert your causal loop diagram into a stock and flow diagram. So basically the goal is to find out what is it that you are interested in measuring or optimizing, figuring out all the variables that support the inflow of that variable stock, and then figuring out all the decays or the outflows. Once you have all the inflows or the outflows and all the constants that impact the inflows and outflows, you could start modeling this based on the complexity into Excel. And once you start modeling this into Excel, you can start measuring over time and building models that tell you how your system will perform over time. So those are the four typical tools for system dynamics that are used commonly. Another key concept to be to get familiar with is to differentiate as a leader what is correlated and what is caused by. So if I say a lot of people are dying right now in the lake because they're drowning in the lake because of increase in ice cream sales. Well, you could correlate them saying, hey, you could say, hey, increase in ice cream sales is causing a lot of people to drown, because you could see that if you plot over time that they're both correlated. But you cannot say that they are caused by. So it's important to say, hey, there could be a third reason, which is increase in heat, which causes both ice cream sales to go up and a lot of people to go out into the lake to dive into the lake, and then they cause it more death. Similarly, so it's important to say, hey, ice cream sales don't cause a lot of people to die, but ice cream sales and death in the lake is correlated. So it's important as a leader to differentiate between what factors or what metrics are correlated versus what factors are causation based. Another example on the screen here is you can say, hey, you may confuse sometimes that, hey, my phone is freezing and that's causing me to not be able to send text messages, but that's not the cause. The cause is something else, which is there is lack of RAM or lack of processing ability, which is causing your phone to freeze, and it's also causing you not able to text. So that's the causing link, and that's the correlation link. So just improving the ability to send more and more text is never correlated directly with phone freezing. It's correlated, but it's never caused by. So it's important as a leader for us to differentiate what is correlated, what metrics that we are looking at are correlated metrics, but what metrics are causation metrics. And typically the focus should be on the causation metrics. The other concept was the vicious cycle. If we have poor morale in the team, people quit. And when people quit, they get to less number of people have to do more work. And when more work is available for less number of people to do, then it causes still low dip in morale. And when there's more dip in morale, more people quit. So as you can imagine, this is like a snowball that's rolling down the mountain. It's like a vicious cycle or a death spiral. Well, things just get out of control at some point. So it's very important as a leader for you to think about this system and understand if there's a vicious cycle in place and to be able to stop it. Similarly, there is a positive reinforcing cycle. If you invest in your employees, then they are more satisfied. They are more satisfied, then you'll have work that's done well that increases customer satisfaction and loyalty, more sales, more profits, and when you have more profits, you want to increase your investment in employees even more, maybe do more products. So this again is a positive reinforcing loop, which is also self-reinforcing. So it can get over time, over and over, better over time. So it's important for you to understand positive reinforcing cycles and vicious cycles or death spirals. And it's important to understand like how feedback loops can change these systems. Why is this important, you may say? Hey, as a leader, and Dan Woodlock summarizes this in his one of the videos on YouTube very, very well. He says, to be a great leader and a problem solver, you need to understand root causes of the issue. So you need to understand what causes what and not conflate correlation and causation. And many times people get cause and effect wrong. So it's very important for us to not believe everything that we read on the news, on the what everyone else is telling you in the team, or what you're hearing at various events. It may not be all true. You should always question it. And if you believe that as truth, then you'll be fixing wrong things or not fixing what should be fixed. So when someone says A causes B, or this is the reason why this is happening, you should always say, hey, they could be right, but it could also be that B causes A, and they could get it backwards. It could also be that A causes B and B causes A. It could be a reinforcing loop. And it could be neither, that C causes A and B, which is what we talked about, which is the third cause. So it's very important for you to think critically as a leader to find out what causes what is the real reason. Go behind the scenes to question and try to really understand and fix the right set of things. Now take a look at this cat. There's a person he's trying to put his finger from below at various open circles, and the cat is constantly trying to hit one finger and sees the other finger, and he's get tired, and he's saying one finger, the other finger, tries to do it more faster. Right? Just look at this. This is the game of whack-a-mole. And you see this, you could also see this as an issue that comes up in your team. As a manager, you see, oh, there's this one issue. Okay, I'm going to go spend my time in that. Oh, second issue, they're going to spend their time in that. Third issue, fourth issue. You just keep doing one after the issue, and then you're tired, and then you try again. So you're constantly moving from one thing to the other, and you're playing this game of whack-a-mole, and it never reaches stability. That's what happens to a lot of leaders and managers, and I personally faced this. And so what happens is there's a problem, and you try to go full in, and then you improve it, but at the same time something else suffers. So then you have to improve that, but then the first thing suffers. So you're constantly playing this game of whack-a-mole, trying to spend your time in one thing, and then the other thing suffers. Then you spend your time on the second thing, the third thing suffers. And so when you do that, your time allocation is pretty poor. You are constantly moving from one to the other thing, and there's never stability. But if you had modeled this issues that you're seeing in your team, or the time where your time is being spent, and if you had modeled it well, you would have realized that you could spend time in both of them and get an equilibrium state of solving both of those issues and still never have to deal with issues all the time. Similarly, if you see that there is product issues or if there's customer issues, before it gets too bad, you should probably get into it and give equal amount of time to your health, to the team satisfaction, to the business, and equal amount of time is needed. Because if you over focus on business and under focus on your health, then the health suffers, and then you go all in on your health, but then the business suffers. So equal moderation of time and in modeling will help. It will help you to understand where your time is being spent, where you could be effective, where you could get help so that you could get to a stable system. And in all of this, right, building good metrics is very important. A lot of times we make decisions based on lagging indicators. So this is another key important thing as part of system dynamics, to understand what are the key metrics that are leading indicators that more mimic the reality right now versus what has already been baked into 6 months into the metric. Like if your customers are leaving now, there's 6 months ago you shipped products that are like buggy. So you shouldn't be looking at customers leaving and reacting now. You should be probably instrumenting better metrics and using those good metrics for you to make those right decisions now. And at the same time, effective time allocation, which we saw in this graph, If you'd have allocated your time correctly instead of issues getting worse and then allocating all of your time, is another key important thing to model and do well. So all of these issues that we see in our daily day-to-day work is very helpful for us as leaders and as managers to get better at if we understand the system effectively. Thus, it's very important for us to learn system as a whole, make better decisions as the process of understanding the system as a whole, understand that things are not linear as cause and effect. There are a lot of systems at play that we can at least build a better mental model of what the systems are, try to mimic them, understand where we are in the S-shaped growth curve, understand how we could deal with various things like price wars that we can have in our product launches, use the right set of tools like causal loop diagrams, behavior over time diagrams to mimic with stock and flow, and also with various Excel modeling techniques. And most importantly, to understand what causes what and to not conflate correlation and causation. Understand what are the triggers in your team when certain key people in your team members leave, or when there are issues that are morale issues because of certain people that could cause a vicious cycle or a death spiral. At the same time, you could also reinforce a positive cycle in your team. And with that, we'll make the right decisions. We'll not be constantly playing a whack-a-mole game like this cat. We will have better time allocation. We'll solve problems. We'll build the right metrics. So I think there are many, many reasons for us to get better at system dynamics and just get better. Thanks. Hope this was useful.